Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Guys, I'm like tingling and shaking with excitement, which like seems dramatic, but I have been sitting on this for a little bit and I am so excited to make this video because I feel like it is such a condensation of so many different things. My fan has been turning off for like 5 minutes, but it's such a condensation of all of these concepts that I've acquired over time and something that God has been doing in my life for years. And I feel like I've finally been able to encapsulate it into one video and really share how much this concept has changed my life. And it's just something that is always happening in my life. God is always extrapolating things from my life. So I'm really, really excited. Also, I'm a blonde. Thought I brushed it, but whatever. I'm a blonde again. I really missed being a blonde. I felt like my red hair was just such a time in my life. And I didn't really feel like myself when I had red hair, even though I am like naturally kind of a ginge. I just feel the most myself when I'm blonde. So I'm blonde again. I'm really happy about it, but yeah, if y'all don't know and you've never been here before, my name is Sophia Chanchuli. It is a pleasure to have you on my channel. If you don't already know, I have this YouTube channel where I just kind of like yap about whatever I want to yap about. And then I also have my podcast, which I've been a little bit negligent of, but that's the OG. That's where this all started. So yeah, happy to have you here. And today I wanted to try and make it concise, but listen, I'm a yappuccino. And there is so much I have to talk about. So let's get started. I have my notes. I have my little references. Okay, well, my reference book for the day, along with the Bible. But so today I really want to talk about deleting distractions, okay? Purging our life of the unnecessary BS and getting really clear on what we're addicted to, why we're addicted to it, what we're running from, how we're numbing ourselves with so many different things. So I'm just going to get into a lot of different topics today. We're going to get into sobriety. I'm going to talk a little bit about my journey with sobriety. We're going to talk about dating. We're going to talk about all different kinds of substances, smoking. What else have I got? Binge eating. What else? DJing, if you know what I'm talking about. Corn, if you know what I'm talking about. And what else have I got on here? Celibacy, dating, all of it, girl, all of it, all of the perceived fun things we're going to talk about. So let's get into it. So to begin, God has been purging me of vices in my life since 2020. So 2020 was probably that was like my big breakdown year. 2020 did a lot in people's lives. Some people, they like thrived in 2020. Some people just fell apart in 2020. I fell apart and I learned a lot about myself. I both had so much fun and also just, it was like the peak of my alcoholism. It was like the peak of, I had gotten into a new relationship in 2020. I went through a few jobs in 2020. I really struggled financially. A lot happened that year. I couldn't pay for anything. I was like just so depressed, to put it lightly. And I just feel like I kind of reached the worst of the worst that year. And by the end of 2020, I ended up going to rehab for the first time. And if you don't know, I've been to rehab twice. I actually was president of my rehab my most recent rehab trip. So I am qualified, okay? I had a gavel and all. I love talking about it. Like I low-key wish I could put it on my resume for work. Like when I apply I have a career now, but when I was applying for jobs, I was like, I really wish I could put this on there because it says a lot. Because if you can manage 80 people with addictions and all their grievances and problems while also dealing with your own as how old was I? 24, 23, 24. That says a lot, I feel like. So anyway, I just want to throw that in there. But God has been stripping me of so much since then because obviously the very first thing that I got rid of was alcohol. that was my biggest problem in life. And it was the one thing where I just recognized, like, I cannot drink like normal person. I don't think most people should be drinking, but just by my own observations, but alcohol really did a number in my life. I went to the hospital so many times. I ruined a lot of relationships with people that I loved. I said things I didn't mean. I was obviously mentally not healthy or well. So all of that was coming up when I was drinking. I put myself in really dangerous situations. Yeah, like I said, hospital, hella money. And just like, there was no peace in my spirit. Anytime I felt any kind of discomfort, I would run to alcohol and act like this is so fun. But really, it was just so self-destructive. And some of us outgrow it. But then, as somebody who has 4 total years of sobriety since I was 21, and I'm 26 now, I had little periods where I was drinking here and there for like maybe like 2-3 months, but my grand total is 4 years. And I've just come to realize through those periods of drinking that it doesn't have anything to do with my age. It doesn't have anything to do with management, self-management. I have an addictive gene. I have an addictive personality. Doesn't serve me, has been my greatest vice, and honestly the thing that I am the most grateful that I got rid of, because since I had gotten rid of it, my life just like rocket shipped up. So if you struggle with alcoholism or any other addictions, I totally empathize with you. If you want to ever yap about it, my email is in my description, my Instagram's in my description. Also, there's this app called I Am Sober, which I just recommend to everybody. You can keep track of your sober days. You have communities of people going through the same thing as you who are on the exact same sobriety date as you. So y'all can match on there and talk and exchange information. I met one of my friends, Kenza. If Kenza watches this, hey Kenza. I met one of my friends who lives across the world in Morocco. Now she's in France, but I saw her recently in October when I went to Paris, and I saw her in Paris, and I just thought it was such a crazy thing, like how we met. We went through like this journey together, and I think it's just so fascinating. Like, you could just make friends from wherever on there. It's an amazing app. Also AA. I'm not a big AA goer. However, the fellowship that you can create, I like to dabble. I go once in a while, and I think that the fellowship that you create in AA is amazing. So I do just want to share that if you're struggling with any kind of addiction, you do have resources, and I'm more than happy to offer you support, because when we offer other people support, we in turn are also receiving support. We're also receiving the knowledge of like, we can always go back there. I can always go back there. It's always an option. And we get to kind of reflect on our own growth and experiences. So I just want to throw that out there. But yeah, so alcohol was the big one for me that I had to get rid of. Then I am close to a year. I just hit 320, no vape. So I haven't bought a vape in a year. I'm not gonna lie to you and say that I didn't hit other people's, because I did, but it was very like few and far between. And quite frankly, I don't really ostracize myself for that. Not ostracize is not the right word. I don't really blame myself for that, or make myself feel bad for it, because like whatever, that I can moderate. But vaping, weed, that had always been a bit of a challenge for me. Always a hard one. So that one took some work, but weed is also, that doesn't have that's a tricky one, but I am not smoking at the moment. So that is that. And then celibacy. We have 2 years of celibacy. Let's go. Okay. Since my last relationship, I have not. And I've had no interest, and I very much plan on waiting until I meet my husband. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Best thing, and I don't date. So same thing. Also binge eating. That's another vice that I really struggled with. And I'm just rolling them out so you know the vices that I experienced, kind of my time frame, in being abstinent from those things. And I just kind of want to talk about how it's affected me and why distractions are literally the devil and sabotaging you from reaching your potential and your purpose and all of the things that you want in life, because you're sitting here siphoning out energy to all these different sources. So we're going to get into it. But also binge eating. That was a big one. That kind of goes hand in hand with, because when you, also another one, corn. Sorry, I gotta get used to like the YouTube rules. I'm not gonna curse anymore. The YouTube rules I always forget about. And DJing or whatever. I don't know what the thing is for men, like what another way to say it, but DJing for women. But that's another thing that we have abstained from for a while. But all of these things have taken some work for sure, but God brought each thing individually into my field and kind of like put some red flags and was like, you shouldn't be doing this. And when I listened, things were great. And then when I didn't listen, something else would happen to like remind me why. Like if I was trying to let it go and I was like, but why? Like it's not really hurting me. I would either like get really depressed after, or like weird situations would happen where I would like get negative repercussions, or I would just be reminded like this is not for me. So I want to dabble in a little bit of each one, because let's just throw some scripture in here really quick, okay? So John 8:24, truly, Jesus hit us with the double trulies. Okay, this is Jesus talking. He hit us with the double truly. So he really means what he's saying. He said, truly, I say to you, everyone who practices sin is a slave to sin. So we might have a vice and we think that it's harmless, whatever that may be, because like I just listed a whole bunch of things. Again, somebody with an addictive personality, you may not have an addictive personality. You may think you can moderate. However, if you are in perceived terms sinning, AKA harming your body, harming your spirit, harming your soul, okay? You don't have to be religious to, I'm not saying this even in religious terms. I'm just saying as a reference point, like what the Bible says. But as a reference point, sin can represent just simply harming ourselves, simply harming our bodies, our vessels, our souls with these they're essentially compulsive behaviors, because none of them really pose much benefit to you. I can see people's arguments for each one, but I just want to say that in the grand scheme of life, they pose no benefit to getting you to where you want to go. Now, we can have different arguments for each one in moderation. That's fine. You know yourself, you know your body. But I just want to say that if you have something in particular, then that is a distraction to you. You are a slave to that thing, because you might not think this is a problem. But if you can't stop, or if you have an excuse as to why you need it in your life, I can probably guarantee you that you are a slave to that thing. Because if you can't just put it down and walk away and say, I'm good, then you have some sort of attachment to that thing. You're getting some sort of dopamine. You're getting some sort of benefit from that. How perceived benefit is the key word, okay? Perceived. But you're getting some sort of benefit from it. And realistically, it's just eating up your time. It's eating up your time, because it's time that we can spend doing other things. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that like I'm Italian. So and I'm working on my dual citizenship. I'm so excited. But so I say that because as an Italian, we like to eat. We drink when we're with our family. We drink at meals. Like, it's a social thing. It's cultural. And there's a lot of cultures most cultures are like that. But as an Italian, I will say that we love pleasure, but we also love work. We also love hard work and discipline. And so I will say that I'm not telling you that they're evil or bad, each of these things. They're a part of life, and they're a part of the beauty of life. But I am saying that in your day-to-day life, and in your behaviors, and in your compulsivities, if that's even a word, but like in your compulsive behaviors and habits, if this is a thing that is dragging you away from really feeling your emotions, if this is a thing that you lean on as a crutch day in and day out, you are a slave to it. You are a slave to these behaviors that are inhibiting you. So there's a few things that I want to touch on. So let's pull in Think and Grow Rich, and then we're going to get into my opinions. Okay. So Think and Grow Rich, if you've never read it, I really recommend it. I've read it quite a few times, but this is chapter 11. I could make a whole video on just this, but the chapter is The Mystery of Sex Transmutation. And basically he says, I'm going to read you a blip of it, but he says that the author is Napoleon Hill, and he says that when we have so he says that the reason that a lot of people become very successful in older age versus when they're younger is because when we're younger, we have this abundance of sexual energy, aka creative energy, and we siphon it out to the wrong sources as we're young. And it's only once we get older that we tend to learn how to reel in our let me open this a little bit, but it's only then that we learn how to really manage this energy and delegate it towards things that are beneficial to us in our lives, like our projects, our creativity, our art, our music, business. If you have a business, just doing a better job in your career, your family, whatever. So why is my phone doing that? Just got the brightness got weird. Hold on, we need to fix this. Yes? Did I make it better or worse? I don't know. But so he says, there are 10 mind stimuli, aka these are the things that evoke or become siphons to our creative energy, and 8 of them are positive and 2 of them are negative. I bet you can guess which are which. So these are, they key up, okay, this is what he says. He says they key up high rates of vibration known as enthusiasm, creative imagination, and intense desire. And the stimuli to which the mind respond most freely are: number 1, the desire for sex expression; 2, love; 3, a burning desire for fame, power, financial gain, money; 4, music; 5, friendship between either of those of the same sex or those of the opposite sex; 6, a mastermind alliance. He talks about this in the book, so if you don't know what I'm talking about, you read the book, you'll understand. But a mastermind alliance based upon the harmony of 2 or more people who ally themselves for spiritual or temporal advancement. 7, mutual suffering, such as that experienced by people who are persecuted, aka a trauma bond. 8, autosuggestion. 9, fear. 10, narcotics and alcohol. So all of these essentially are like vehicles for our creative energy. They're like the things that both stimulate that creative / sexual energy, because they really are one and the same. They either stimulate it and then they also become vehicles for it. Now, you saw in the end, fear, narcotics, and alcohol, those stimulate it and also become siphons for it. So with our vices in life, if we don't manage where our energy is going, then we end up just getting distracted. We're like pretty much just using these things as tools to numb out instead of as tools to create. So everything is good if you do it just a little bit. Yes, that can be like a little bit of a stimulant for you. But if you can't moderate, which most of us can't, most things, it becomes this vehicle to your own demise. And so I have a few things that I want to talk about, because I just finished a fast. And my fast, I kind of felt like I was starting to get like a little addicted to like scrolling. I don't have many vices anymore. So scrolling, I don't even like go on social media really. I'm just starting to be back on social media. I'm just starting to like not hide anymore and like in the shadows, because I was really enjoying just like my little like peace. But I really did have this revelation where it was like, all right, girl, it's time to shine. Like, let's go. And so I found myself that when I go on social media, I scroll and then I keep scrolling and I keep scrolling. And then I'll have moments where I'm like overtired, and instead of just going to bed, it's like I scroll to keep my mind stimulated. And it's like, what's even the point of that? It's like your body is numb, but your mind is still stimulated. And it's like, there's literally no point to that. So I decided, I was like, I think I need to just fast from like my phone. I think I need to fast from eating, obviously, because that's like a basic fast. But so I put myself in a fasted state. I didn't eat for 42 hours. I didn't use my phone. I didn't go on, obviously, any social medias. What else did I fast from? There was something else. I didn't curse because I realized I was cursing way too much. And I was like, God had revealed to me that in the past. And I don't know when I picked up the habit again, but I did. And so all of these things I decided to just kind of fast from. And I realized how difficult it was for me to just sit and be. And then I was like, wait, I don't want to sit and be. I need to do something. So then I realized how much creative energy I was really just giving up freely to these things, because anytime I had to do something, instead of doing it, I would get the same stimulation I would get from actually doing what I was supposed to be doing by just going and scrolling or something, or eating food when I wasn't even hungry. Or in the past, when I smoked, it was like, that's when I would smoke and it would like, the feeling would pass, instead of genuinely taking that energy and transmuting it and putting it towards something creative. So I really had no choice but to sit with myself. And I've done this many times, but it had been a while since I really sat and like not really. I think I fasted maybe like 2 months ago. So not like a long time, but I'm a frequent faster. So, and I hadn't fully fasted from my phone before that. So that was another thing, is like, I didn't really fast from my phone. My intentions were just different this time. And it really opened my eyes to how addicted I can make myself to anything. But we really get so stimulated from all these external things, and we don't realize how much that we're just like using them as a distraction versus actually using that energy for what it was intended to do, which is create, which is like, go make, go do, go be. And so I say that to say, like, if you're struggling with any kind of addictions, a really good first step for you, one, for clarity, two, to just see how you are without it before fully like getting like per se clean from like whatever your vice is. You can see how you react. You can see what it does to your body. You can see what feelings come up. You can see what's, triggering you. You can see like how uncomfortable it is. And that's an amazing thing, because being uncomfortable is a gift. We do not want to be living these lives where we're constantly seeking pleasure, because I've said this in my discipline what was the name of that video? My discipline video. It was recent. It was a couple of videos ago, but I said something similar in my discipline video, how discipline is the highest form of self-love. It really is, because when you are disciplined, you are cultivating and compounding these positive feelings of discomfort. It's a great thing, because you are exercising your muscles and then becoming stronger in all of these different areas without even realizing it, because you might be doing stuff and not seeing any results, or like you might be getting sober from something. I see it all the time in like my sober groups, and people are like, I don't even know why I'm doing this for. And I've been there. I'm like, I don't even know why I'm doing this for. And then suddenly all of your positive progress compounds, and you have this moment where you're like, thank God I did that. Or you're like working out every day and eating healthy and not seeing any results. That was happening with me. I was like doing everything right and I wasn't seeing any like results. And then finally it all compounded. And then I looked in the mirror one day and I was like, you are ripped, girl. You look amazing. So there kind of comes a point where all of that positive progress balls together and shows you like you and how far you've come. And in the same sense, all of those little negative habits that you do each night, if you're scrolling on your phone for hours at night, or if you wake up in the morning and the first thing you do is check your phone and you're on it for 2-3 hours that are just now gone, or if you're like, there's so many examples, any example that I listed, if you're binge eating and every night you wake up at night and you're eating like, I did this for so long. You eat, because I grew up really kind of like restricted. So growing up, my binge eating was really bad. And so you wake up in the middle of the night and you're eating like 10 chocolate bars. I could put down like crazy, like 10 chocolate bars and 2 big bags of chips and whatever else you can get your hands on. You're just eating the whole freaking kitchen. And you do it every night, it catches up with you. And it did in the past, because I was fat and bloated and I hated working out. So I didn't, for some reason, I actually looked decent, but I didn't feel good. And same thing, you drink, you think you're just having a couple drinks each night, and then suddenly it's like you're always operating at like 50%, or you're dating somebody that you shouldn't really be dating, but you still just kind of like, you're like, okay, whatever, or like you're putting all this extra energy into like non-reciprocal relationships, and then suddenly you're like, oh, I'm depleted, or something happens with this person and you're like, oh, okay, like I should have kind of known that was going to happen, and I had these like little things that told me that. It all compounds in a negative direction. So suddenly one day you wake up and you're depressed and depleted and you're like, well, why? But it's like, well, because you keep feeding these habits. You are a slave to your sins and you're not even realizing it. And now suddenly you are operating at like 25, 50% of your potential. And I'm not somebody where I'm like, I don't want to be a robot. I don't want us to live this life where like, we're living a life devoid of pleasure, but it is knowing yourself. And a lot of us don't know ourselves because we're always going to all these external things and we don't sit with ourselves. We don't sit with our feelings. And I'm going to be really real when I tell you that, like, if you cut out these distractions that I'm telling you, okay, whatever that may be, it could be corn, it could be cigarettes, it could be vaping, it could be alcohol, it could be whatever your vice is. I don't know. It could be just like Tinder. I know a lot of people like that. But whatever it is, like those things catch up with you. And when you take a break from them, or when you cut out all of this like nightly, daily numbing, you're going to have feelings come up that are uncomfortable. Things are going to come up and come to the surface. Like the other day when I was so uncomfortable and fasting, I was like, what is this? I thought I was over this. Like, why is this feeling come up? And I'm like, because I suppressed it. Like I didn't sit with it and actually ever feel it. I suppressed it for all this time. And so really, really sitting with yourself and getting to the core and the root of these issues is of so much benefit to you. And then you have all this extra energy over time that you've cultivated by eliminating these things from your life. And when you kind of like start building up all that extra energy, which I'm going to talk about what to do with that. But when you start having all this extra energy, it's like you radiate so much light. You're so much happier. You're so much more grateful. And it's not always immediate. It's different for every different person in their situations. But it will eventually have a positive impact on your life. So what other notes do I have? Let's take a goose and a gander, shall we? Big purge. I did talk about the big purge. Well, I guess I'll throw it in there. So obviously the last year and a half, I talk about this a lot. A lot of stuff left my life. Friendships, where I lived, careers, so much changed in my life. And at first I was like, why is this happening? And it felt like it kept happening. And I realized I just wasn't vibrationally in alignment with those things anymore. I had friendships with people who I did stuff I don't do anymore with. I had relationships with people I don't do that stuff with anymore. So obviously we're going to fall out of alignment. But at first it felt like, what is wrong with me? So I call this time period of my life the big purge. I feel like we've kind of exited the big purge because the people that belong have started to surface and life is really good. And I will never say life is perfect, but life is great. And so much has changed and shifted for me, and I feel like I've vibrationally come such a long way. But I can nearly guarantee you that when you start to eliminate distractions from your life and you start cutting out these like substances or these sins, if you want to call it that, if you are a Christian or a Catholic, once you start cutting these things out of your life, people will leave. Okay, people will leave, things will change, your career might change, your desires might change, your habits might change. Oh, example, when I quit vaping for the first time. So I had quit vaping for like 9 months before this time. But then I went to flight attendant training and I picked it back up again. My first time becoming a flight attendant, not now, but I had quit it for like 9 months and I had all this freaking energy. I was like, what do I do with this energy? That's when I first started to run. And that's when I'm not a runner, but I did run because I had all this energy. I was like, where does it go? And then I went to the gym, and that's, to this day, I love the gym. Y'all know I'm a gym girl. Like, I love the gym. And I had all this excess energy, and I realized how, one, obviously those things are terrible for you, but two, it was like, anytime I had to breathe, anytime I had to feel something, I think I just spit. I don't know if y'all saw that, but I was just hitting the vape. And that was like my worst thing because I wasn't drinking at the time. I wasn't smoking. So the only thing I did was hit the vape. And it was like taking all my energy. So then when I stopped, I finally had energy and I was like, wow, this is crazy. And to this day, it's like, now I have that amazing habit. So things will shift and change when you finally let go. And a lot of times too, we'll think like, oh, something's blocking me. And I always do this. I'm like, God, like, what is blocking me? It's you and your terrible habits, because you got an excuse for everything that you do. So I really just get real with yourself on that. I want to warn you that you will probably have a similar situation. I've talked to other people who are also on like their self-growth journeys, and they've experienced similar things where they lost friends, or, you know, they ended up having to move, or they got a new job, or they just feel like they're not in alignment with the people around them anymore. Like, that is a good thing. That if you are doing these things to better yourself and people fall away, you can probably bet that it's a good thing that they're leaving your life, whatever it may be. So it's a good thing. What else have I written? Okay, so these are kind of, I want to talk about the benefits of, you know, deleting these distractions aside from the obvious, because each one has its own individual benefits. But in terms of your creative energy, which is your sexual energy, which is all of this energy that gets poured into these destructive habits, right? Because we don't know where to put it. It's misguided, misaligned energy. There is so much joy. I'm reading this because I was like, which one was I going to talk about? Okay. There is so much joy and creativity to be found in purification. When God purifies us, obviously, when you pray, right? Like, there's so much reference of this in the Bible, but when I pray, I always ask God to purify my heart. He's always guiding me to let something go. There's always something that I should probably be letting go of that I'm not letting go of. And it could be resentment, it could be anger, it could be a literal habit like what I'm telling you now. There's so many things, but it could be stress. A lot of us are addicted to stress and use that as a distraction, because it's like being peaceful is very uncomfortable for us. But there is so much joy to be found in purification, because as God strips away all of the things that don't belong, it's like this overwhelming sense of peace, this overwhelming sense of clarity. And then it's like you can start to see and visualize what's possible for you, because I'm telling you, like, I couldn't have imagined for myself the things that have happened. I could not have imagined for myself, but every time I laid down what wasn't for me anymore, God gave me tenfold what I could even imagine. He gave me ideas that I couldn't have even imagined on my own. He gave me vision. He gave me energy, the gifts of the material and survival. He gave me stability, like all of it. But you have to be able to hear it. And when you have these walls up and these wedges between you and God, or whatever you want to call it, but to me it's God, like, those wedges between you and the spiritual, you won't be able to connect to the truth. You won't be able to hear what's calling you because you're too busy numbing. It's like, for an example, I hate to throw people under the bus, but in my last relationship, something I learned through observation, through the person I dated, was he had for years not felt his feelings. He had smoked every single day since he was like 16. That was like almost 20 years. Like, years of his life, he had never had a day where he didn't smoke. Then he went through trauma in his previous relationship. And then when we started dating, years after that, he was not healed. And it was so obvious. It was like, you've never allowed yourself to feel your feelings. If you don't, and a lot of men are like this, and it's not necessarily their fault. Society doesn't teach you any better and doesn't really encourage men to feel their feelings. But like, carrying that for so long, you're obviously not feeling what you're supposed to be feeling. And it's a very simple process. We don't need all of these things, okay? What you really need to do is just get real with the Lord and get real with yourself. And maybe some of us need a therapist, some of us need some deeper work, some of us need rehab, whatever. We all need different things. But I will say that you feeling what you're made to feel will quantum leap you, okay? Because eventually it sucks for a little while. Like, gosh, for a year straight, I cried after that breakup. I cried constantly. I could not tolerate it. It hurt so bad. But then eventually I was like, I feel really good. I felt really good. I'm happy I felt that, because now in my heart, I'm in a place of forgiveness. I'm in a place of peace. I'm in a place of wishing the other person well. I'm in the place of having reflected on my own mistakes, my own trauma, my own behaviors. And I can honestly say I've transmuted it and turned it into something so beautiful. And I don't regret a thing. And if I kept numbing, which I did in the beginning, if I kept numbing and I kept running and I kept going to all these different external things, I would have never healed, and it would have hit me eventually in the future, maybe in the midst of a marriage, or maybe in the midst of a new relationship, or, maybe when things are going good, and then it would hit me at an inconvenient time because I didn't sit with that feeling. But because I let myself cry and feel and suffer and be uncomfortable, I was okay, and I got stronger for it. So a lot of us have been through so many different things, and we think that, we'll have a hard day and we're like, oh, but I need a drink. I need a toke. I need to DJ a little bit. I need his attention. I need to go on a date. I need to be in a relationship. Like, no, you don't. No, you don't. You need to sit with yourself, because you're going to wake up in the morning and be so glad you didn't. And you're going to feel good and energized. And maybe it lasts a little longer than you think it will. Who knows? But you're going to be better for it. So I just want to say that. And then I also wrote, every ounce of your creative reservoir is useful, but we siphon it out to all these silly sources, becoming slave to their perceived influence in our life. So it's just a couple to what I just said, but we really do need every ounce of our creative energy, especially as women. I have multiple different people that listen to me, but especially as women, because we are such potent reservoirs of creative energy and healers at that, because obviously you can tell in society, women are healing at a different rate than men, because we are so in tune with our emotions. We are so in tune with nature and cycles. We are in the same cycle as nature. So we are very intuitive. So we're obviously going to heal a little bit faster. And we've also been at the brunt of patriarchy and male dominated spaces for our whole lives. So for years and years and years, since probably the beginning of time. So us women have had to learn to kind of take on all of that weight and transmute it, because otherwise I think that suffering would be too much to bear. So especially if you're a woman, every ounce of your creative energy is your currency. That is your beauty, okay? Because you get so much more beautiful when you're actually in the richness of your energy. You are so beautiful and radiant and magnetic. You are magnetic to the things that you are desiring and that you're manifesting. It comes to you so quickly. Healthy masculine men come to you, or if you like women, healthy feminine or masculine women, whatever you like, comes to you. It's so amazing what is possible when you are truly sovereign in your own energy. And I wrote this: getting to a place of sovereignty and the free will over every area of your life so you can thrive. So getting rid of these distractions, we all have our own reasons for it, but I ultimately have come to this place in my life where I've gotten rid of so much, I've had to surrender so much, I've had to purge so much, that I realized God was not punishing me by making me let go of these things. He wasn't saying you can't have fun. It's that so I can genuinely thrive in my life, so I can have the power and the sovereignty, because we live under the illusion of free will. There's so many different examples I can talk about. Basically, if you read Neville Goddard, he talks about this all the time, the illusion of free will, but basically you're just a slave to whatever you experienced before, your past memories. So in taking back that free will, you live within your imagination and create with your imagination. Firm believer in that. Works like a charm. But I will say that having true sovereignty and free will is within your creative energy. And the more of that you have, and the less of that you're siphoning out to all these external sources, dating, going on random dates for no reason, especially as a woman. I'm going to tell you right now, this was a note that I wanted to say. If you are a woman, okay, I want to encourage you, if you're on dating apps, or if you're going to the club every weekend, and make your memories, please make your memories, have fun. But don't do it to go and seek out men, because I'm telling you, like, if you're going out all the time, do it, have fun with your friends, whatever. But I want to tell you, stop seeking men. You might be on a dating app, but you don't realize it. You're seeking men. You're out there seeking. And these men that you're finding on dating apps, I can 99% promise you, I've seen some cases that are different, but exceptions to the rule. But you're not in your feminine energy, okay? Anytime I've ever met a man in my life, we have met by chance. All of the men that I met on dating apps, and anytime I've ever gone on a dating app, I was on there for like a day and then I was finished. I was like, I'm done with this. I would cry because I was like, this is my dating pool. But I will tell you, every man that I have ever met in my life, like that I dated, had a relationship with, we met by chance. Every single one of them is like a little movie story, like really beautiful. They didn't all, obviously none of them worked out, but like they all were a part of my life, and it's led me to trust in God and know that the right man will cross my path at the right time. And if you are not where you need to be as a woman and a man, because stop bothering the women when you have nothing to give. But if you are not where you need to be as a woman, as a young girl, okay, as somebody in their mid-20s, I am telling you this, girl, stop wasting this is just as much a distraction as anything else. Stop wasting your time dating. It's a waste of time. And stop thinking that you have no time. When did Sarah get pregnant? She was like 90, okay? She was like, and she left, but she still had her baby. So stop rushing your process and just go and create the life that you dream of for you, so you can have structure and stability when you finally do have a child, when you finally do get married, when you finally are in a relationship. Like, maybe I'm probably one of the few people who feels this way, but I really think dating is such a waste of time, especially as a woman. You do not need to be out there seeking for men. They will find you. And unless they are providing for you and helping you to establish your dreams, they're useless, especially if you're watching this video. You obviously have goals. Go after those goals. Stop chasing and seeking a man, because you're obviously in desperation energy. If you're going on dates, you're desperate. The right man will find you when you do not need him, when you are not looking. He will find you and he will better your life. He will make your life better. The majority of these men are not making your life better, and they need to heal. So I'm telling you right now, stop dating, because that's a hot take, but I forgot. I wanted to throw that in there because dating is such a distraction, waste of time. Waste of your time, waste of your energy, unnecessary drama. They have work to do. They have work to do. So, and you have work to do. So do your work. Okay. So I just want to throw that in there. That is just as much of a distraction as anything else. Also, you really should not be having sex with these random men, because you are also siphoning out all your creative energy and they're benefiting from it. And you are making society worse, because you are giving away your body freely outside of marriage. Okay, outside of the sanctity and the sovereignty of a marriage. You are just giving away your sexual energy, and you think that you're doing something positive, but you're not. You're literally lowering the bar for all of women, making the dating pool worse and worse, because men are just expectant and the bar is on the floor, instead of encouraging them to step up and do better. And I'm not saying out of a energy of entitlement. I'm not saying we're entitled to things, but they are in an energy of entitlement right now. They're entitled to your body. So I really want to encourage you to stop doing that, because that's another way you're just giving up your creative energy. You are being siphoned. Men are out here taking I have crazy stories. Okay. My ex-boyfriend, you know what he did to me? Hand on my heart after we slept together. Hand on my heart. Okay. And he said to me, I'm just absorbing your good energy. And at the time, I thought it was a compliment, but it rubbed me the wrong way. Now I'm like, yeah. And there was a lot more to that, but you need to be careful, okay? You need to be careful. So I'm just telling you. Anyway, really quick, I don't want to go too long. So I'm just going to end this with, what do you do with this excess energy? You're going to be uncomfortable. It doesn't feel good. When you get rid of all your vices and you're not binge eating, binge watching, you're going to be in a little bit of a dopamine depletion and a little bit of a dopamine reset. Okay. Invest, educate, extrapolate. Okay. And by extrapolate, I mean pull from inside of you to create, to learn, to grow. Go within the reservoirs, the things that come up, those feelings that come up, extrapolate from them, like learn from them, use them as like potent, powerful tools to grow and become who it is that you're meant to become. Like it's super true. Everything that you need is within you. It is all within you. So go and play around and learn who you really are on the inside. Invest in yourself. Start playing with the things that you have and the resources that you have in your life, and really invest in the money that you save. If you're quitting a vice, the money that you save, if you use I Am Sober, it'll tell you how much money you saved. Man, it's crazy. I've saved like $40,000 in my 4 years of sobriety from alcohol, probably more. Invest that money. You can put that money in an account and invest it and allow it to multiply. Or you can just invest and get yourself a gift, something nice to celebrate the progress that you're making. And it feels really good, and that gives you some real genuine dopamine. Also invest in your health, invest in your body, eat well, like go to the gym, go on walks, invest in good quality friendships, invest in good quality relationships, invest in time with your family, like invest in the things that are going to multiply you and snowball you forward. So, and then also I have educate. Keep learning. This is a beautiful, potent time period for you to learn. Read the books that have been on your shelf forever. Maybe get a new book. Learn something new. Watch people that are valuable to you. Learn new lessons. And genuinely, you should always be learning. Growing your skill set so you can make more money. Like, once you start eliminating the BS, I tell you, the things that come to fruition in your life, you like can't even imagine. And most of us don't tap into that because most of us are enslaved our whole lives. Very few people get to this point. Honestly, our generation is my generation and younger. We're amazing because we really are so into, we're doing things so differently, and we want to change and we want to be better. I'm so impressed. Like I talked to an 18-year-old the other day, and he was like talking about cold plunging and he quit nicotine and all this stuff. And I was so impressed because I was like, at that age, I did not care at all about my health. So I really think that it's important for us to always be learning, always be growing, always be better. I don't want this video to be too long, but yeah, that's I think that there is so much potency in our ability to sit with ourselves and in our ability to say, you know what, this thing, it's not serving me. I'm numbing myself. I'm tired of numbing myself. I want to go and do and be better. That alone is like a quantum leap, girl or boy. It'll get you so far. So yeah, guys. Anyway, I don't want this to be too long, but I really hope that helped. I hope that you learned something. If you have something that has been bothering you or something that has been distracting you that you want to give up or that you have given up, please leave it in the comments. Let me know. I would love to hear. I want to hear how it impacted you. Was it hard? Was it easy? What did you learn from giving that thing up? What do you hope to learn, hope to gain? Let me know. Share. I'm here for you. And like I said before, if you want to keep in touch, if you have anything that's going on in your life that you need some support with, Instagram message me, email me, whatever. Okay, but I love you guys so much. Thanks for watching. Ta-ta. I'll talk to you all the next time I have something to say.